Well, look who's here. It's Jen Buck. Hi, Jen.
Hi, how are you?
So nice to see you. It's been a million years.
I know it has.
Jen Buck is a talented survivor of the speaking business. We're going to learn all of her trade secrets, probably not all of them. She's going to keep some stuff close to the vest. This is Angelo Caruso. Welcome to the Talk to Me podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, I sure appreciate likes and comments and shares. It's what helps the channel grow. And if you're in the speaking business or gravitating toward the speaking business, Jen Buck is going to be a voice for you, specifically if you're a female, because I think all my advice is great. I think it's better to find people that you resonate with. What do you think, Jen?
No, I think you're right. And I think having people who've endured it as long as we have, we've kind of made all the mistakes.
Yeah,
And it's good to know who you can reach out to and get
I don't know about you, but I'm still making mistakes, fresh ones.
100%. Thank you, evolution, right when we get it figured out, right?
We worked together back in the early days. I had just gotten into the speaking business when I was at National Seminars, which was a public seminar company, everybody. Was that the beginning of your arc as well?
It is. Yeah. 1996 is when I no, sorry, 1998 is when I got into the business.
98. That's about mine too. I think we entered maybe close to the same time frame.
Yeah,
I tell people to this day that it's the hardest you can work in the speaking business
no question. Gosh,
because just to give listeners an idea, and this is going to probably make you flinch like you're having a seizure because
yeah,
the memory is so vivid. But we used to fly out the night before to a city, usually Sunday night if you were working all week, and be in your room by 7:30
yeah,
and teach until what, 3:30, 3:45. Then you had to break down the room, jump in your rental car, and go to the next city. And we did that every night and flew home on Friday night, often on a 10 o'clock flight, 10
yeah.
o'clock p.m., only to do it again the next week. And I was often out 3 weeks a month. And I imagine you were too.
Same. Yes, it was brutal. And
Brutal.
but yet I also tell people it was probably what made me the speaker I am today
Oh, yeah.
because you are in front of an audience every day and in real time, starting a new activity or bringing in a new story or refining what you're doing. And but you are working, you're right, six
That's the
days.
second part of the equation. Hardest I've ever worked.
Yeah,
What an education.
yes,
Uh, our 10,000 hours.
yes,
You know,
that's it
Malcolm Gladwell
exactly.
didn't invent the number, but he's the one that made it famous. And that's where we got really good at what we do. And I think that's what allowed us to survive all these years, even through a worldwide pandemic.
Yes,
Congratulations on that.
yeah, right. Survival. Yeah.
Um, Also at National, as long as we're paying homage,
Yeah.
uh, we learned about the back of the room because if you didn't have a product of your own, you were selling other people's products in the back of the room, which I found awkward because I don't know, I hadn't read some of them.
Yeah.
And then I read some of them and I didn't want to sell them,
Yeah.
but that was part of our revenue. It was part of the gig. If you didn't sell, you didn't get calls.
Yep.
Um, So there was just a wealth of opportunity there to learn and get good. Were you ever able to publish anything with them?
I was the art of being assertive. And boy, did that change the game
What?
because what people don't realize is that when we were both starting in 1998, they were paying, if you remember, $350 a day to do what we were doing.
I actually didn't
And
remember that, but now I'm starting to flinch.
yes, exactly. $350 a day.
Yeah.
Now, some people would say, well, that's great by the end of the week or the end of the month. But remember, you're only working 3 weeks a month, really, 15 days a month. And it's just not as much as you think when you start,
And
figuring
it
this out.
wasn't, and to be fair, I don't think it really was that much money back in the time. It was a lot of money if you'd never gotten paid to speak before.
Well, the key is you were out doing what you felt called to do in this world, and somebody was paying you to hear your ideas and your strategies. And so the back of the room sales were really important, right? To be able to weave into everything. And that's probably, I don't know if you feel this way too, that actually is something that made me a better speaker because I started to learn how to weave the truth, the laws of leadership, or the scientific facts of something, or somebody's quote. I started to learn how to weave that stuff in there, which made me more of an authority, right?
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of speakers get in and they just want to tell their story. And that back of the room stuff not only made me more money, but it also allowed me to be a better authority in that space of leadership right in front of
Yeah.
the room.
We learned a bunch of stuff, weaving, the talking in titles, because if there were titles in the back of the room and you were saying the title in the front of the room, they would, at the break, they would go past the table and see something and maybe not remember why it's familiar, but there's that title again.
Yeah.
The actual sale that happened at the table served me well later when I had a suite of my own products. I'm sure
Yep.
that's true for you. What do you have, 10 books now?
Yep. I do. I do.
And
And
so,
it's you're right.
so we learned how to sell other people's stuff first, and then that made it easier, I think, for us to sell our own.
Yeah.
It'd not be easy to
100%.
sell your own stuff anyway, even if you do know how to sell other people's stuff. That was a new thing for me, is holding up my own book and saying, "This guy's great," which is what
Yes.
we've been saying about all those other people.
Yes.
It didn't
And it's
exactly
also
roll off the
something
tongue.
and I know that we've said this forever, that as a speaker, it's the selling and the travel that we're paid for,
Oh
right?
yeah.
It's really the speaking that is what we do for free because we love it so much.
And
But
I
it's
was double dipping because I came from the music business where I would have done that for free. I'm a
yes,
sucker two times over.
exactly. But I think it's important because as a speaker, I get people who say to me, "You still sell yourself?" And I think, "Well, of course, yes. I mean, how could I ever stop speaking? I don't have a famous name. I wasn't leading in a band. I wasn't on a, you know, television show. I don't have a household name. So of course I'm always selling. And that helped me too to this
I
day,
think
that
everybody
national stuff.
sells, don't you? You think Tony Robbins still sells his own stuff? I think he does.
I would think they have
He's
to, but I
also
think there's
giving a
enough.
lot of it away now.
Yeah, but I think there's enough name recognition. If somebody
Oh
really
yeah.
wants to have Mel Robbins, that name comes to mind, or that theory that she speaks on. And so we have to work. And that time at National learning to sell is something that still helps me to this day.
Yeah. It's good to hear that you have good memories of it. It was a slog
It
on
was,
certain weeks and with certain situations, but we weren't allowed to book our own flights. They booked the flights for us, so they were shopping price.
yeah,
Same thing with hotels. I think we were texting before this
we were
about all the off-brand transitional hotels we were staying at. Transitional because
brutal.
they were switching flags.
Yeah, it was brutal.
Uh, and my favorite story about that is I'm doing sit-ups in my room because they didn't have an exercise room. We were lucky to have Wi-Fi back then, you
Yeah.
know. I'm doing sit-ups in my room before I go down, and a mouse runs by my
Oh
head,
no.
and I jumped about 3 feet high, and
Huh?
not
Yeah.
because I'm afraid of mice, it just scared me. I guess I
Yeah.
am afraid of mice. It scared me.
Yeah. The biggest spider I've ever seen was washing my hair in the shower and looking up, and
Oh,
it was just right. And I'm talking about something that was as big as my hand.
oh,
Oh, the stories, well, we already did this via text, but the stories we could tell
yeah.
about these little shady, no-tell motels across the country.
I'm watching, we're watching, the redhead and I, Martin Scorsese. I think it's called, and it's pronounced Scorsese. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Mr. Scorsese is the name of the series, and it's about the arc of his career, his great storied film career, and where he came from, and how poor they were, and how they struggled, and how even as a young accomplished director, he still had epic failures that he had to get up from. And
Sure.
and I think, as I think about my own career, as I listen to you talk about yours, that this way that we started, kind of say it with a glint in our eye now, but that it wasn't fun back then. It helps us appreciate where we are now. If I'm in a good hotel now, I sometimes think about the
Yeah.
time I the times I checked into, Night's Inns or whatever,
Right.
miserable place.
Right. Yes. You just brought that back. That back. Yes, exactly.
So
No, right.
Why on earth did you get into speaking in the first place?
Ah, so I was a freshman in college and I was, like majoring in boys and drinking and frat parties and all the things I shouldn't be doing. And my mom bought us tickets to the National Women's Conference. And at the time, it was the first of its kind. So we're literally going back to like 1989.
Yeah.
And my mom said, "You're going." And I was like, "I have school. I don't," because I didn't want to go to something like this. I didn't know what it was. I just know I felt like an awkward teenager. And she said, "I know you're not even going to classes. You're going." And I remember sitting there and they announced that there were 3,500 women there. So that's a big deal. And they were
Yeah.
serving breakfast back in the day, hot breakfast that was brought to you with the little tin top, right? That's how far back we're going.
White gloves?
100%. Well, I don't know about the white gloves, but they definitely had the little tin top on them. And 3,500 women with, think about that. Like, that's unbelievable. And so I was sitting there, and the keynote speaker got up there, started doing her thing. And I remember just grumbling, not wanting to be there because like I was wearing my college sweatshirt, I don't want to be there. And I remember saying to my mom, "Who's the old broad?" And my mom looked at me with like, "Oh, first of all, don't say that word in front of my mom, right? Second of all, like, how could you not know who this is?" And she hissed at me. She said, "That's Joan Rivers."
Oh.
And I remember being like, okay, like I was too young. I didn't know who Joan Rivers was. But before I knew it, I was laughing, I was crying, I was on the edge of my seat. And I will never to this day forget the end of that keynote. I still remember what she talked about, I still remember what I felt. But for the first time in my 19 years of life, I gave a standing ovation because I could not control myself. Like I jumped out of my seat. I was just so moved. I have goosebumps. I was so moved by it. And I told my mom that day, "I'm going to be a motivational speaker." And she was like, "No, no, 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 no. Like those people aren't real." She said, those people are
That's not why we're
actors.
here.
Yeah, yeah. And so all that to tell you from that minute, I told everyone at my job at Chili's and in college that I was going to be a motivational speaker. And I ended up getting, like, maybe 2 months later, a message at Chili's where I worked. And it was my manager who gave it to me. And he said, "These people called and left you a message. They sat in your station last night." So I called, like, "Hi, when does this happen?" And the woman said, "Listen, you told us you wanted to be a motivational speaker. And I work for well, we didn't call it startup at the time, but I'm telling you, it was a startup. I work for a Discover Card." And I was like, "I don't even know what a Discover Card is. What is that?" And she said, "We're looking for a trainer and you don't know it, but this is the exact line you need to follow to become a speaker." She said, "Would you be interested in being interviewed by us?" And that was it. I was
A
there
bunch of stuff happened on
for,
that night. You got inspired. You saw your first professional talk. You got
yep,
inspired and recruited.
yep,
You got a job offer.
yep,
You found a vocational path,
yep.
so you didn't have to major in boys.
Yes.
That's pretty good.
And I ended up, get this, I ended up years later, like I was in my mid 30s, and I started doing some television hosting, total D list, like not impressive. And my hosting coach, TV hosting coach, was Joan Rivers' assistant for 25 years. His name's Andrew Krasny. And he said, and I told him, "Oh my God, this is why I do what I do. It's because of Joan Rivers." And he said, "Do you want to tell her?" And I got to tell her.
Oh
And
my
she said,
goodness.
"I know." And she said to me, "Do you know my husband had just died 3 months ago?" I said, "I know, you told us." And she said, "I tried to get out of that any way I could, that keynote." And she said, "You just proved that if there's one person that needs to see your message, if there's one person that needs to
Oh,
hear
that's
it,
sweet.
you've got to show up." Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great story. My first guy was Brian Tracy. I
Oh,
was
that's a good
26
one.
years old. There
Wow.
were probably only 300 people at this thing in Detroit, but I
Huh?
had never been to a professional development talk.
Yeah.
And I loved his measured tones. I loved his professionalism. I loved how encouraging he was. You know, Brian's thing, there has
Yeah.
never been a better time to be a professional speaker.
I don't remember that.
Well, he was the guy, and then from there it was a quick zag to Zig,
Hmm.
and Roger Dawson for negotiation, Tom Hopkins for sales. These are all the old guard,
Yes.
all men back in the
Yeah.
day.
The OGs,
It's interesting. I was inspired by a male. You were inspired by a female.
isn't it?
I think there's some disparity in the speaking business today, gender-wise. Do you?
Huge, 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 huge. In fact, I am constantly jumping on Zoom and talking to women who want to get in the industry, and it's my commitment to give what I do on some level away for free, what I know. Let me say it that way. To give what I know away for free to women if they have questions about how to get in, because we don't have enough females. And you said 70-30, but at some point, but I think it's less than that. I think we're probably closer to
80-20?
20%. Yeah, 20% women. And we need more female voices leading in this industry. And yeah, you are spot on. There just are not enough women.
We were talking earlier, and you mentioned that it may partly be a confidence issue for women.
Well, I think that there's a confidence issue when it comes to fee. So I've noticed over the years that there's a disparity in what women charge and what men charge. And I have been on one side of this where I've been charging a certain amount and thinking it was an honorable, honest amount to give. And then I have a man say to me, "What are you talking about? You're only charging that. Are you crazy? I started charging that in year 5. You've been doing this 15 or whatever it was at the time, right? Now it's 27." But the point is, I think that there is a confidence issue in the way that women price themselves. We see this in the business world. Women don't ask for merit increases, raises at a higher rate, as high a rate as men do.
Yeah.
And so, number one, we need more women. Number two, the women in the industry need to pump up the fee because we're undervaluing ourselves greatly.
Yeah. Well, certainly confidence is a huge thread, thread.
Mhm.
It's a threat too, I suppose, but it
Yeah,
winds through the entire industry. You have to have Super Balls to get on stage in the first place.
100.
Um, if you could ever muster this the whatever you need to get on stage, then you got to handle this thing called Q&A and actually back up the stuff that you're saying.
Yeah,
Um, you have to travel alone.
or
You
not.
have to negotiate your own ticket, as you mentioned.
Mhm.
So there are plenty of men that are lacking confidence, believe me.
Mhm.
But I just think that if you're missing the confidence piece, yeah, you need to talk to somebody like you, if you're a woman or whoever resonates with you, and get it together because it's gonna be a short bus ride if you don't.
Yeah. Yeah. And I will tell you that so I was at the NSA influence event that happened this year. And it's an incredible thing to see the women who are banding together, coming together, being each other's support,
Nice.
helping each other. I have 2 women and we share contacts back and forth because here's the truth, the hard truth in what we do. If your business is really focused on keynotes, they are not going to have me back, most likely for next year's event for the keynote, right? Which is different in training. Training, they can just keep bringing
Yeah,
me
because
back.
they
But then
want variety and a new face.
yeah. And so I have 2 women, and I've got a couple of men that I do this with too, but specifically 2 women that I will recommend. As soon as I'm done with the keynote, I'll recommend one of those 2 women because this is the kind of sisterhood and support that's needed.
Do
And
men
not
do
to
this?
say, oh, I know they do. Yeah, for sure. Men do it as well. I've got friends of mine who are part of sort of groups, just like what we've got. But I say that just simply to say we need more women. We need more support. We need to circle the ranks. And I think I saw that when I was at Influence this year that the women were incredibly tight, and the way that they were supporting one another,
Beautiful.
noticing where disparities were, not
Yeah.
afraid to speak out about it. It was refreshing.
Good. I'm glad to see it. We need more good female speakers. Thanks for all you're doing for that.
Oh, thanks.
Who
Thanks.
is your best audience when you do your talks?
I think the best audience for me is usually, well, it's always large. I love large audiences because the energy is so fun and crazy. And
Yeah,
I do, I use movie clips and video clips and dancing and song and things like that for what I speak on, because neuroscience wise, it's something that gets people really connected. But the idea is the more people, the more it feels like a concert, which is really fun. And so the other thing I would say though is that I love speaking to women. And there aren't enough gigs out there for me to be a female only speaker. So I definitely speak to mixed audiences, I'd say 80% of the time. But there is nothing like a female audience. They are loud, they are vocal, they are emotional, they show it all, they talk back at you. They're
I
wild.
agree. And I know that from having, well, I've spoken to both audiences, not all female very often.
Yeah.
In the early days, I used to get like union truckers and all the, I walk in and all the guys are sitting there
Yeah.
like this, and it's
Yeah.
like it's like they was in church.
Yes.
Nobody said anything and they wanted, it was a
Uh-huh.
hostage situation. They wanted to get out of there
Brutal.
as fast as they could.
Brutal.
And women, the opposite, very gregarious. They're easy laughs. They're attentive. They respond to all kinds of verbal stimulation,
Yep.
stories, statistics,
Yep.
uh, Q&A, much more likely to speak up.
100%.
Women are the superior gender, Jen.
100%. And I'm not going to fight you on that. There is just something so incredible about the matriarchy, man. I mean, just so much
Well,
emotional
it's older
depth.
than birds. It ain't going away.
No, it's
But
not.
you guys are making some headway. Congrats. Who is your least favorite audience?
Okay, so I'm going to say this with a caveat. All right. I'll give you that first, actually. So, as a member of the event industry, I love our people. Event people are really the most exciting, fun, and also strategically smart people you will ever find. I love event people. But let me tell you something. I do a lot of events for event people. So the audience is all people who are at one part of the process or another. So it could be, bureaus, planners, it could be someone who's doing lighting, staging, all of that. There is nothing harder than speaking in front of a group of people who have seen it all.
Oh, yeah.
And they do not give standing ovations. And in our industry, we live for a standing O, right?
I've had a few offers from them. I don't think they're famous for paying very well either.
Well, I've been lucky in that I've been sent to some really great locations, and
Okay,
they do and they have, and it was great. But you're
good.
right, getting the opportunity to speak at event professional events.
Well, the
You
pitch
know,
is always, we're event people and we're going to give you lots of
yeah.
exposure.
Well, let me tell you something. This is where part of that caveat is. One, they're my people and I love them. But two, I have never ever done events where I come out with more opportunities than speaking to event professionals. And they keep me on my toes. I come with fresh, different, unique ways at going at that topic. They're always the group that gets me raising the bar. They're always the group that at the end of the day I come out with lots of opportunities. So I don't get paid a lot. One, recently I just got paid $500. There's a fee thing. But I took the gig because there were 300 people in the audience who were event professionals.
I
Like,
speak for free still. And
sure,
I
of
tell
course,
people all the time, it's conditional, man.
of course.
If if a titan, a business titan is going to be there, who
Yes,
has the opportunity to put you in front of his entire company for the next 10 years, you're
absolutely.
going to tell me you're not going to speak for free?
Absolutely.
I don't
Yes.
speak for free often, except for Rotary. I'm a Rotarian, so I never charge them
Okay.
anything. But
Yeah.
opportunity is opportunity, and you got to be smart about being able to see it. I think that's one of my tricks for surviving is I have a fee, I have a range, I have
Hmm.
concessions that I make under certain conditions,
Yep.
and I comp a gig if you're going to treat me right, and the redhead wants to go, and there's going to
Yep.
be certain people in the audience, and you're doing a multi-camera video shoot, and I get a copy of it. You know what it would
Yeah.
cost us to hire? Well, you're married to a videographer, so that would be a lot more
Yeah.
expensive for me probably.
Yeah.
But uh, I was so happy to hear that you're married and
Yeah.
traveling with your husband because we do the same thing. In
You
fact, when he
do.
is speaking, you should teach a guy to, does he ever go on stage with you?
No, no.
Oh my
He
God,
would.
they'll buy his plane ticket if you can get him on stage, even to say
Oh my
something.
gosh, right. No, he would die if I did that. So John is he's got a background in engineering and he worked in professional motorsports for 25 years. So
Okay.
left-brained,
Give him a
professional.
helmet, Jen, and push him onto the stage. He'll
Right,
feel like he's on a
right.
bike.
So the guy's a total left-brainer, but here's the interesting thing. He's also this wild creative. And so he's been a photographer for decades, and he now does reels, speaker reels. He now
Okay.
does all my photography. He does all of my videography. And so he travels with me because, yes, a lot of our life as speakers is chasing down reels or, clips or photography images. And it is just ridiculous the amount of hours and days and months and years we spend doing that. So we decided he's traveling with me. So for about the last year and a half, he's gone with me, and it is the best to travel with your best pal, your love, your family. It's the best.
It is. It changed everything in the speaking landscape. Back to the early days, I would park at a place called it doesn't matter, the big ass parking lot at the airport.
Oh yeah,
And National would fly me back. Sometimes it was my own doing. I came back at midnight. Sometimes it was the airline's doing. I was coming back late.
yeah,
And I'm like the only when I parked my car, there were millions of cars around my
of
car.
course,
I get back so late, there's no cars around mine.
sure,
And this is back when I didn't have any money. The car was shit. And I
yeah.
turned the key and the battery's dead. And I
Oh,
slumped in my chair like this. I'm like, woe is me. It'll
yeah,
never work.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm so glad I hung in there. And I'm so glad you hung in there because this is the stuff that character's made out of.
yeah. And not many people that we started with are still speaking. That's an interesting truth. When I connect with these people years later, it's it is a marathon, and it's not always easy to
Yeah.
stay in this industry. And like you said, there are times where there's the ebb and flow, right?
Yeah.
And getting through some of those hard times, it's rough.
Well, you're an inspiration. You're a role model for so many, and I'm glad for one that you're still in the business. It's Jen Buck, everybody. JenBuckspeaks.com. JenBucks. I'll put everything in the notes down below. Jen, safe travels out there. Be safe.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Bye, everybody.
Bye.